I'm going to check that camera, make sure it works. My name is Chris. I play in the Flatliners. I sing and play guitar. We are a band from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, North America, planet Earth. We've been a band for 9 years. We all met in school. We've all been like friends forever since we were little tiny kids. And basically, we all wanted to start a band, so we started a band, and that's what we do with our lives now.
You're currently touring Eastern Canada in support of Kangaroo Bruises, the 7-inch EP. Can you tell me a little bit about the record?
Yeah, we had a bunch of B-sides from Cavalcade. We had 5 or 6. So what we ended up wanting to do when everything was recorded was put out a bunch of 7-inches around the record. So we had one that came out before the record, which was called Cynics. That had like one of the songs was going to be on, like at that point we knew that song Filthy Habits would be on the record too. So we wanted to be like the precursor to the album. Then we had a B-side left over from The Great Awake, and then we had one of the B-sides from Cavalcade, and we put those out as Cynics. Then we put out Cavalcade a few months later. A few months after that we did another one with Monumental and 2 B-sides, and then we had 2 more B-sides, and then we decided to do a video for Count Your Bruises, and we decided to just do another 7-inch. We had the song because it was pretty easy. We got our friend Richard Menino, who goes under the name Horse Bites, to do the artwork. He's done all the artwork for all the 7-inches, and yeah, it turned out pretty cool. I think we were able to spread out all those songs. We recorded over like 4 different releases, which was kind of exciting. And we like putting out stuff consistently, like every few months. I think we were able to do that, whether it was like every 4 months, every 6 months, something like that, just to keep it fresh and interesting and always have new music out there for people to check out.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about the 2 new tracks, Sticky Bastards and This Guy Reads From a Card?
Yeah, basically like, it was kind of ironic, I guess, in a way that those 2 songs ended up being the last 2 B-sides that ended up being paired with Count Your Bruises, because they're all kind of about the same thing, which is just like, just kind of the brotherhood and sisterhood of, like going on tour and just meeting these bands and like making awesome friendships and seeing these incredible places, all because you play music with your friends. You know what I mean? It's kind of an insane thing, in the best possible way. Just to think like, oh, we went to Russia because we wrote songs together, and we get to meet this band that we love because we wrote songs together, and it's just really cool. You know what I mean? So it's really like something that keeps us like really motivated to do this. It's just like it's a kind of an odd life to live, but it's a really fun one, and we're stoked. Like, we're such lucky guys, and all 3 of those songs are basically just like kind of anthems for like all people that live their lives that way.
Yeah. You just got back from Russia. You want to talk a little bit about that?
It was awesome. I couldn't believe we made it there. It was like we were there for a week, and it was one of those scenarios where we were just kind of walking around the whole time like doe-eyed. Whoa, we're here. And it was great. The shows were insane. Did 5 shows. We had a lot of time to see a lot of cool stuff in Moscow and St. Petersburg. Otherwise, we spent to travel to the other towns either by van or train. We spent a lot of time traveling, but the train rides were super cool. Like, I'd never been on a sleeper train before, like an overnight train. They're really old, like World War era trains. Some of them were. But yeah, it was a trip. It was like totally different than anything we'd experienced, and the language barrier was massive, but it was really exciting to like try to have dialogue with someone at a show. Like, you'd meet someone before the show and they couldn't speak much English, but their English was far better than our Russian, of course. And then we'd be playing and you'd see the same kids like singing along, and there's like, it's a really, that feeling is hard to match. You know what I mean? It was really cool, and yeah, I can't believe we made it there and back, and it was only like a few weeks ago. It was wild.
How's the architecture? Like, that's a
my god, the architecture in Europe in general is incredible. And then like, so we spent 5 weeks in Europe and the UK, and then we went to Russia and everything. Yeah, it's just everything. It sounds kind of like a bonehead thing to say, but the world is just so much older over there, and it really is. I like literally.
Of course, yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's really cool to just kind of like walk around and see like, wow, that's a beautiful building. What is that? Oh, that's just the post office. Like, that's just someone's apartment. That's like the trash receptacle. Like, it's insane. Like, yeah, everything is just really nice. Yeah.
Wow. Do you have any interesting stories? I'm sure you have loads of interesting stories that you're not allowed to talk about, or any that you're allowed to talk about.
From Russia specifically?
Yeah.
We drank a lot of vodka, which is pretty. That's a given, I think.
Did you drink a lot of vodka, or did the vodka drink you?
And eventually, it just started to drink us and just permeate into our souls. I'm trying to think of. The very first thing that happened in Russia was we got picked up at the airport from our friend who booked our shows for us and like traveled with us the whole time. We got picked up at the airport from his friend in his van, and we were driving nearly from the airport to the hostel we were staying at in St. Petersburg, and we got pulled over by the cops. And the driver of the van just, you know, like it's commonplace in Russia to just like pay off a cop to avoid getting a ticket. Yeah, and like the level of corruption there is insane, and that was the very first thing that happened to us in Russia.
Oh my God.
We're all safe, like
That's
there was
crazy.
no danger or anything. It was just like, I thought it was pretty funny that was the very first thing that we witnessed. Yeah.
It's a great first impression.
Yeah.
Oh my God. How's the audience different? How did it differ there from like other places you've seen where they? Because you hear these things about, I don't know, Japan, where they just stand still and then they clap at the end. And
yeah, Japanese folks are really polite. It's so cool. It's so interesting to see that. Like when we went to Japan, after every song, people would clap for 2 seconds. They'd be like, yeah, and that was it. And it was like there was someone in front just like all at once. But in Russia, kids were just insane, and I mean that in the best possible way. It's like it's such a compliment. Like it was incredible. They were just losing their minds. There's so much energy, and it just was easily reflected. You know what I mean, and reciprocated, and it was unreal. Like the show we played in Moscow, one of the first of 2 shows we did in Moscow was, I think, probably the craziest show we've ever played.
oh really?
And if not the craziest, like the craziest one in a long time. It was really
Montreal needs to pick up the game. So you guys are basically the Iron Chefs of touring. You're here pretty much every 4 months or so.
Iron Chefs of touring.
Oh, thank you.
Cool.
That's really hardcore. Like as far as even for a touring band, that's really hardcore. Your new album, Cavalcade, well, newest album, is full of like road songs like Count Your Bruises, Here Comes Trouble, Carry the Banner. What drives you to tour the way you guys do?
I mean, it's all we can really do if we want to be in a band.
Mm-hmm.
And do it at the level we want to do it at, and by that I just mean like, you know, be able to tour in Europe and go to these places like Russia or Japan or Australia or whatever. I don't know. I think we've always had the mentality that we just, if we're gonna do this, we might as well just really go for it. You know, I mean, there's some bands that can only tour half the year. Some bands, you know, like there's like we know a couple bands where there's some bands we played with in Toronto a long time ago that like 2 of them were teachers, so they could really only tour in the summer. You know what I mean? Like, but the thing is, we don't have anything really tying us down in the sense of like we can't tour. Like we're lucky that like the guys in the band with girlfriends have really supportive girlfriends, and like they're like, go do what you do. Obviously they miss each other when they're on tour and everything, but like, you know, like they're very supportive, and our families are too. And like I work when I'm home, Paul works when he's home, John does too, Scott doesn't usually. But that's okay. Yeah, like everyone, we all have a lot of positive support surrounding us. So, and we're like young enough to realize that we have this opportunity, we might as well go for it. You know what I mean? Because we're able to, and we've been really lucky to make a lot of cool friends and people that have our backs with the band, and just as us being people in a band and stuff like that. And yeah. I mean, like it's either that or we're just gonna be at home, and we like to travel. We like to be on the go. We like to do this. So it's worked out so far.
The last time you played here is in Laval on an indoor tennis court that sold really crappy beer. How strange was that? Like,
beer was
an
terrible.
entire like atmosphere there.
That was so crazy. I couldn't believe it's interesting because sometimes when we're home, Paul and I do what those guys were doing, which is like setting up that kind of stage, doing lights like that, and it just gets wild. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't know. That there is an extremely insane level of production behind that show.
Yeah. I noticed the lights where I was looking at the lights. I was like, wow, they actually like put a lot of effort into setting it up.
Yeah, exactly. And I felt so bad because, you know, it was a fun show, but I just, like, Paul and I specifically felt so bad because after the show, like, there were so many people, like, tearing the stage down, tearing the lights down, like, the crew was huge. So, yeah, it was just crazy, like, that there was that level of production to it, but it was fun. And then we sang karaoke all night after that, downstairs.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, I know. There was arcades and stuff in the area.
Yeah.
Me and
like
my friend
bowling alley and stuff.
We were like, wow, this is so cool. And we got upstairs and we were like, wow, this is so weird.
Yeah. It was definitely bizarre. That's actually one of the coolest places we played, just because it was like where we played was so strange and odd. Then we go downstairs and there's like a bowling alley and a bar and karaoke. We stayed there all night.
Of course.
It was amazing.
So that is one of the weirdest places. What is the weirdest place?
We played in the forest on a mountain in France 2 years ago. That was pretty weird. Just straight up in the forest, power and everything. They had a generator, like they had a tent. It was a wicked show too. It was just so strange. On a mountaintop, not a mountaintop, but on a mountain ridge. We played on the back of a truck one time. It wasn't a moving truck. That was the strangest part about it. It was like on a flatbed, but it wasn't moving. It was parked in this huge hangar basically, and yeah, it was so weird. We played a lot of strange places. Those are probably the two oddest spots though. That come into my memory now. We played on a boat in Paris one time. That was cool. But again, not while it was moving.
No,
among
just
water.
On the boat.
It was just on a boat, a docked boat.
Okay.
It was super weird. Yeah, it was cool though.
So as Canadian touring bands, they really have to adopt like a pioneer kind of lifestyle. You pretty much have to tour other countries, right? Like there's no getting around that.
Pretty much, yeah.
In what way does this does that lifestyle shape your band or yourselves?
You spend a lot of time away from home, of course. We started touring in the U.S. at a pretty young age. We were at, I think, 17 when we started touring in the U.S. And
not even legal.
No, definitely not. And you definitely learn a lot, I think, especially when you start to tour at a young age. Like, we're all still, 24-year-old dudes, so we're young guys. But, I feel like we were forced to kind of maybe grow up a little faster than we would have if we hadn't gone that way. And I just mean that in the sense of, like, you go out there and you're basically just dealing with people. You get a really heightened sense after a while of dealing with people, good and bad people. And especially if you're a band when you're 17 years old touring America, you're not going to be taken very seriously most of the time, which we weren't sometimes. I would say we're lucky enough to have mostly good experiences off the bat, but we obviously dealt with some shady people and some shady situations and whatever. But that comes with touring. That's part and parcel of the whole thing behind touring. You can't really. I feel like you have to try to break out of Canada. Not break out of Canada, that sounds terrible, but you have to go beyond the borders of Canada, I think. And it's just it's odd that like a band can be big in the U.S. and then not very big at all in America, but at the same time, maybe that band toured way more in Canada. You know what I mean? Like you just got to go elsewhere after a while. And there's only so many cities to play in Canada. Especially Western Canada.
Very true. Very small population all along the trans.
Yeah, like in Ontario and Quebec, it's actually there's a lot of awesome places to play in Ontario and Quebec, and British Columbia, but like kind of in the middle, Central Canada. Yeah, it's there's kind of one route you can take, or that I guess that most bands take, I should say. Yeah.
Do you find like having downtime between tours is hard, or do you get restless? Do you not know what to do with yourself?
It's weird. Sometimes it depends. We were home all summer. We did like a 10-day tour in June, and then we were home until the middle of August when we went to Europe, and like I had a pretty awesome summer at home. We barely even practiced. We didn't even actually like jam all that much at all, just because we were all kind of busy with work, like with all the work that we do when we're home. The different jobs we all have, like summer is actually the busiest like season for all of our jobs, I guess. So there's that, and then we're kind of like, whatever, you know what I mean? Like let's just hang out, let's just be people, rather than people in this band. And it was cool. It was a really fun, positive summer. And then we got on a plane and went to Europe, and that tour was great. And now we're here, and it's the fall is always busy for touring and stuff, so it's cool. And, yeah, but it really depends. Though. Sometimes you can be home and just be like, I just want to go on tour. Oh my God, get me out of here. But then sometimes you can be home and be like, I'm gonna stay here for a while.
Yeah.
So
I enjoy this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
That's cool. What are some dirty, nasty side effects that nobody tells you about touring?
Ooh, you basically just smell like a dirty sock the whole time. That's probably a given to most people, but yeah, dirty sock, basically. Otherwise, it's probably a given that it's really easy to get sick on tour. Otherwise, I don't know. You gotta make the most of it. That's about it. But yeah, the dirty sock for sure.
Dirty sock.
You smell like a dirty sock. No
Everybody else
matter how clean you are, if you're the because you could wake up one day and be the only one that had a shower that day, and you get in the van with everyone else, and everyone else stinks, or everyone else could have showered, and you are the one that smells like a dirty sock, and then in turn that reek just permeates on everyone else, and yeah.
You guys have been together for 9 years. That must feel pretty damn awesome. How does that feel? Describe what it's like.
It's pretty incredible. I mean, like, it's always been the four of us, and it's wild to think that next year is our 10th anniversary.
Oh my God.
I'm stoked. Like, we've been able to accomplish a lot together. We started this thing as friends. We were friends like from way back before the band had ever begun, and yeah, there's really not else much to say. We're really proud of ourselves, you know, like in each other, and just it's cool to see how we've all grown as people and musicians, especially playing together, and yeah, it's been cool. Like, we've been able to see the world with like a group of our best friends. Well, not the whole thing, but a lot of it.
A lot of it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it's crazy. Like, it's funny. Whenever I talk to my dad, he's always just like asking me about like what this place is like, and then he gets jealous and mad at me. Not actually mad, but then he's just like, "Oh, you've seen everywhere. I've never been anywhere," which isn't true. Like, he passes it off. Like, he's done a lot of traveling too, but I think he sees it how we all see it too. It's just like, you have this opportunity, so go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, and 9 years later, it's still just as fun.
Yeah. That's good. That's great. So how do you guys keep your boyish good looks being old and all? Like, really, any tips?
I shave every 10 minutes. I have to. My beard comes in so thick.
Is that beard envy talking?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're starting. Yeah, they are. Shit.